Karachi is a bustling, vibrant city, where towering skyscrapers reach for the sky, while narrow and busy streets hide thousands of untold stories. The call to prayer echoes through the air, blending with the sounds of traffic and the hustle of markets, creating a strange yet familiar harmony. This is the story of a young captain's unwavering resolve, ready to face challenges to protect his homeland. Azizabad, a middle-class neighborhood in Karachi, is where our hero, Captain Sherdil, lives his life. A man filled with a passion for serving his country, Captain Sherdil is ordinary in appearance but carries a quiet determination in his disciplined life. Amid the chaos of Karachi, his home is a place of peace and comfort. Captain Sherdil's home is filled with the fragrance of love and sincerity. His father, a retired teacher, instilled in him the values of hard work and patriotism. There's pride in his father's eyes, but also a visible concern hidden beneath. Sherdil's mother, a traditional homemaker, constantly prays for her son's safety. Her eyes reflect an unspoken anxiety as if she's silently asking for his well-being. His wife, a school teacher, holds deep respect and love for him. She prays quietly for his safety, and her prayers bring comfort to the captain's heart. In the busy life of the city, Sherdil's friends also hold a special place in his life. They are the ones who stand by him in both joy and sorrow, sharing laughter and pain. The moments spent with them are priceless, as they have become milestones in his life. One day, Sherdil receives news that changes his life forever. He has been selected for duty at the Siachen Glacier front. The news brings both pride and challenge. Different thoughts cross his mind as he bids farewell to his family and friends. His mother's eyes are filled with tears, his father offers advice, and his wife struggles to keep her emotions in check. The journey from Karachi to Siachen is not just a physical one for Captain Sherdil, but a mental and spiritual test as well. As he moves toward the cold and darkness of the north, various questions arise in his mind. He reflects on his decisions and prepares for the challenges ahead, yet inner fears and doubts haunt him. These thoughts won't let him rest, and he readies himself to find answers to these questions. For the captain, this journey marks the beginning of a trial where he must face not only the cold and snow but also his own silent doubts and fears. He knows that the cold of Siachen can freeze not just the body, but the soul as well, and every moment of this journey will test his courage and faith. Despite the storm of questions within him, Sherdil keeps his resolve strong. When he finally arrives at the Siachen base camp, he feels the severity and isolation of the place. Siachen, where everything seems like a symbol of death, the blanket of white snow, the cold winds, and the relentless weather. Here, every day, every moment feels like a battle between life and death. Siachen is the highest and coldest battlefield in the world, located in the disputed region between Pakistan and India. The glacier stretches about 70 kilometers and rises to an altitude of 21,000 feet. The cold here is so intense that temperatures often drop to -50 degrees Celsius. Living and fighting in this region is one of the toughest challenges a human can face. Life in Siachen feels like surviving in a frozen desert. The cold is not the only enemy. The constant threat of avalanches and lack of oxygen make every step a new challenge. Here, soldiers not only face enemy bullets but also the fury of nature. Apart from enemy attacks, the harsh conditions here act like an enemy themselves. Hidden crevasses under the thick snow are deadly, and the constant snowfall makes it a struggle to keep warm and protect their gear. The soldiers at the base camp, already hardened by these conditions, know that surviving, cooking, and planning strategies in Siachen is an extremely difficult task. The unforgiving nature of the glacier, its cold and harsh mountains, along with the enemy's attacks, create an environment where every moment is a balance between life and death. It was a cold night in November when the captain was first assigned to lead Liaquat Post, 10,000 feet above sea level. After spending a few weeks at the base camp, the captain and his 10 soldiers were ready for their first mission. They loaded food, weapons, and other supplies onto their pack mules. Deciding to travel under the cover of darkness, they studied their maps, compasses, and routes carefully, setting off with a well-thought-out plan. In that moment, every soldier felt a surge of determination and trust in Allah. Despite the cold, their eyes shone with a special light, as if they knew that this journey was not just a mission but a spiritual test as well. The captain encouraged his soldiers, saying that with faith in Allah, they would successfully overcome this difficult journey. Every step they took was filled with a sense of responsibility, aware that their path held not only the enemy but also the harshness of nature. The journey began, and Captain Sherdil and his soldiers quietly made their way through the darkness. Their plan was to rest during the day to avoid being spotted by the enemy. Everything went smoothly for the first 2 nights, and they had covered half the distance. But on the 3rd day, an unexpected disaster struck. They were suddenly attacked by the enemy. Gunfire, rocket launchers, and mortar shells echoed all around them. The captain showed his courage and strategic skills, rallying his soldiers and launching a counterattack. The fierce battle lasted for hours, but by the grace of Allah, there were no serious casualties, only a few minor injuries. This was the captain's first combat experience, and he proved his leadership abilities, strengthening his team's trust in him. The soldiers felt a new wave of respect and confidence in their captain. After the enemy retreated, the captain and his men thanked Allah and, after 2 hours of rest, resumed their journey. As they started climbing again, they realized they had lost their way. Their communication equipment had also failed, leaving them stranded in an unknown area. Fear gripped the soldiers' hearts. Suddenly, one of the soldiers spotted 4 figures standing on a distant hill, holding the Pakistani flag. The captain and his team called out for help, but the figures remained strangely silent and disappeared a few moments later. This mysterious event left the team even more confused. One of the soldiers pointed out a narrow path leading in the direction of those figures. They all followed it, bewildered, and soon realized they were back on the right path. With the way cleared, the captain and his soldiers reached Liaquat Post in a few days without further incident. They were greeted with joy. The next day, as they sat together, the captain recounted the attack and how they had lost their way, only to be saved by the mysterious figures. He shared how they had reached the right path, thanks to those unknown soldiers. Liaquat Post commander, Ali Magassi, confirmed that neither he nor the base camp had sent any help. This left everyone astonished, and no one could explain who those mysterious figures were that had come to their rescue. An old sergeant spoke up, suggesting that those figures were martyrs who had died in the same area years ago and had since been watching over them. This incident strengthened the soldiers' faith and trust in Allah even more. It left a deep spiritual impression on their souls, as though they had truly felt Allah's help. This event solidified Captain Sherdil's resolve and belief that he would have to fight not just the enemy but also the unforgiving nature of the glacier. For him, Siachen was not just a battlefield but a place where his leadership, patience, and courage would be tested. Every moment, every day here would bring new challenges. The captain knew that he would not only have to protect his soldiers but also stand firm against the harshness of this place, as the glacier had the power to crush his resolve at any moment. At this edge of the world, where the line between life and death blurs, Captain Sherdil's resolve and leadership would remain his greatest strength. It had been 6 months since Captain Sherdil and his unit had been stationed at Liaquat Post. One day, an order arrived from the base camp. They were to take over the duty at the highest post, Jinnah Post, and relieve Captain Ali Magassi and his team. Jinnah Post is the highest military outpost in the world, situated at an altitude of 21,000 feet above sea level. The journey to this post is not only physically grueling but also mentally taxing. The snow-covered mountains and strong winds test the resolve of Captain Sherdil and his soldiers at every step. Each soldier in Captain Sherdil's unit is aware that there is no room for error here. Every step must be taken with precise care because even the slightest misstep could send them tumbling down the abyss below. The intensity of the wind is so fierce that it freezes their breath, and the constant threat of avalanches looms over them at all times. These moments tell a tale of their friendship, sacrifice, and unwavering determination. Captain Sherdil, along with his unit, begins the ascent to the highest post in Siachen. It is nighttime, and the icy winds pierce through their bodies. Every step is a trial, as the snow and rocky slopes stand in their way. Yet, in their eyes, there is a glimmer of determination, and in their hearts, a deep love for their homeland. It was a cold June night when Captain Sherdil's unit was ordered to move towards Jinnah Post. The post stood 21,000 feet above sea level, and their journey began at 10,000 feet. Every step of this journey tested not only their physical strength but also their mental and spiritual endurance. Under Captain Sherdil's leadership, the unit set off, each soldier resolute in their determination to complete the mission successfully. However, as they climbed higher, the intensity of the weather grew. The temperature had plummeted below freezing, and the air was so thin that even breathing became a struggle. In front of them were towering snowdrifts, freezing winds, and unbearable conditions that felt like an enemy on their own. On their way, they were hit by a blizzard. Massive snow avalanches started to fall, making it difficult for the soldiers to save themselves. Everyone was concerned for their lives, but their spirits remained high. They knew their mission was more valuable than their lives. Suddenly, a powerful avalanche swept down, engulfing soldier Wakar. Despite their best efforts, the rest of the unit could not save him. This moment was a devastating blow to them. They had lost one of their own, but for the success of the mission, they had to push forward. Captain Sherdil consoled his team, telling them that Wakar's sacrifice would not be in vain. They continued their ascent, with death seemingly looming at every step, but their hearts were filled with resolve and trust in Allah. After several more days of life-threatening climbing, they finally reached Jinnah Post. This was a moment that gave meaning to all their pain and sacrifices. Upon reaching Jinnah Post, they offered prayers in memory of Wakar and thanked Allah for their safety. This journey was not just a mission for them, it was a trial where nature tested them every moment. But their spirits remained unshaken, and they proved that no weather or challenge could break the resolve of Sherdil's unit. After a short period of taking command at Jinnah Post, Captain Ali Magassi and his team were sent back to the base camp. The soldiers greeted each other warmly, offering prayers for each other's well-being. On a night filled with stars, Captain Sherdil was on guard duty at the post. Amid the cold winds, he held his machine gun firmly pointed towards the enemy's direction while reciting verses from the Holy Quran. These sacred words gave him peace and strength in the desolate environment. Suddenly, he heard a faint sound, like someone softly chanting Allahu, Allahu. At first, the sound was weak, but it gradually grew louder. Captain Sherdil asked his companion, "Soldier Jamil, did you hear something?" Jamil looked puzzled and replied, "No, sir." Soon, the sound vanished. Captain Sherdil didn't mention the incident to anyone, but questions began to form in his mind. The mysterious atmosphere of Siachen had captured his thoughts. A few days passed, and one night, the same routine followed. Captain Sherdil was vigilant at the post, reciting verses from the Quran, when the same sound echoed again. This time, too, it started softly and grew louder. Captain Sherdil left Jamil on watch for a while and decided to follow the sound. He walked in the direction of the chanting, oblivious to where it might lead. After descending about 300 meters, he saw a group of 40 to 50 people gathered in a circle, holding torches and chanting Allahu. The distance, the darkness of night, and the foggy air prevented him from seeing them clearly. As he moved closer, the circle of light moved away. Captain Sherdil was fearless, determined to reach these people and uncover the truth. As he approached further, a bright light began to move towards him. As it came closer, he saw a soldier in white winter gear, holding a torch, standing before him. Captain Sherdil greeted him, but the figure remained silent. As the light illuminated the figure's face, Sherdil felt an indescribable sense of peace. The face was glowing like an angel's, bright and serene. The figure said nothing, simply raised a hand to stop Sherdil from advancing. He smiled, and then disappeared. The next morning, Captain Sherdil regained consciousness in his bed, surrounded by his soldiers. Jamil immediately asked, "Sir, what were you doing near the ice crevices? I found you unconscious on the ground, only a few meters away from a deep ice chasm. If you had fallen, we would never have been able to bring you back." Later that morning, Captain Sherdil gathered his team and began to recount the events of the night. He explained how he had heard the chanting of Allahu, seen a circle of light among the ice, and encountered a soldier-like figure with an angelic face who stopped him from going further. The soldiers listened in awe as Captain Sherdil told his story. Among them was Haji Noor, the most experienced soldier at the post, who had been listening quietly. After the story, Haji Noor said, "Sir, I need to tell you something." All the soldiers turned in surprise to hear what Haji Noor had to say. Haji Noor began his story slowly. This goes back almost 20 years, to the early days of the Siachen conflict. Perhaps it was the 1st or 2nd Pakistani unit, consisting of 60 soldiers, sent to reclaim this post from the enemy. At that time, the soldiers were unaware of the full dangers posed by the harsh conditions and enemy attacks. His voice carried a weight of sorrow as he spoke. The unit faced extreme difficulties in reaching this position. Many of the young men lost their lives to the severe cold, lack of food, and inadequate winter clothing. But they were determined to reclaim this post. When they were close to the post and about to take it, a fierce battle broke out. The enemy was positioned on the peak, and with heavy fire, they triggered avalanches, one after another. In no time, the battlefield turned into a frozen graveyard. No one survived, and their bodies were never recovered due to the treacherous conditions of the area. Haji Noor paused for a moment before continuing. Since then, many people have reported hearing chanting and seeing lights at this place. These are the souls of the martyrs who gave their lives to protect this country and its honor. Their spirits still guard this place. Haji Noor's story filled the hearts of the soldiers with a strange mix of peace and awe. Captain Sherdil and his team exchanged glances, feeling a deep respect for the martyrs and their sacrifice. They realized that they weren't just stationed at a military outpost, but at a sacred place where the spirits of the martyrs still lingered. This experience left an indelible mark on Captain Sherdil and his men. Their spiritual strength grew, and they vowed to protect their country with the same dedication as those who had sacrificed before them. The incident strengthened Captain Sherdil's faith. He realized that Allah's protection was with them at every moment, no matter how difficult the circumstances. After that event, he carried out his duties with renewed vigor, knowing that they were never truly alone and that the forces of nature were always watching over them. Thus, the journey of a young captain from Karachi becomes a tale of extraordinary leadership at the highest and coldest battlefield on earth. This is the story of a man who, out of love for his homeland, faces every challenge and triumphs through his courage and determination. Honorable viewers, as we near the end of our story, Captain Sherdil, who is now a Major General, continues to serve his country with pride. He has participated in numerous military operations for the Pakistani army. He is not only a proud soldier, but also a devoted husband, father, and, above all, a patriotic citizen of Pakistan. We hope you enjoyed this film and were moved by this inspiring tale.